welcome back to the Zone, and we're going beyond the DMV now for a story that is impacting college sports all across the country. A mass exodus has left the Pac-12, with just now 14.
What?
Yes, we want to talk about how all this happened and what it means for football.
Whoa.
Georgetown Professor Marty Conway live with us now to break it all down. And Marty, I know for folks who maybe not even following football, they might say, so what that some teams decided to leave? But this is a big deal. I mean, we're talking a seismic shift, some might say, in the football league world or conference world. Talk a little bit about what's going on here.
Yeah, well, this most recent shift is just part of an ongoing development. Look, college athletics and football in particular have been largely about tradition and geography, right? We think of football Saturdays, the conference rivals, border state rivals, things like that. That's what college football had been about for 40 or 50 years. But unfortunately, over the last 10 years or so, remember, Maryland moved to the Big Ten in 2014.
Right.
And so we're seeing that exodus over time, which frankly is largely driven by media dollars and available media dollars. And so there are somewhere between 55 and 65 major institutions playing Division I football at a high level. And we're now seeing those shrink into maybe 2 or 3 conferences. Right now we have the Big Ten and the SEC having almost 40 of those schools in their conferences. And so the move recently of the Pac-12 losing 4 big schools, Washington, Oregon, Arizona, and Utah, to the Big 12, we're seeing that consolidation. And that's what I think has caught people's attention here in the last several weeks.
As these leagues, are dissipated, decimated, and we see the seismic shift, as Maureen put it, does that have any bearing on, opportunities for players, opportunities for schools? What then happens? Are we just saying this? The league shrinks? Does this have anything to do with what happens to the schools in the long run?
Well, I think it does. It does impact the athletes, in particular football, right? If you want to play in the NFL, at some point you need to be playing at a major conference level and playing against teams, and they only want to play each other. Right. They no longer really want to play the smaller schools and share that revenue, because this is all about that. So initially it will impact athletes who want to play at the next level, so to speak. But also then there's also the other non-revenue sports, because now you have teams at UCLA and USC having to travel all the way to Rutgers and Maryland to play. So volleyball, softball, soccer, all of that. This is just a massive change for universities and the athletes, which is why you're also seeing athletes speak out and look at their own interests, name, image, likeness. They're looking for those kind of revenue opportunities and not just saying to the universities, it's all about you collecting the most money.
So we're seeing everything change, the rippling effects of it. Where does it all end? I mean, do we just see a toss from the air where things land is where they land? Or do you see this really just being the beginning of even more changes, not just for college teams or maybe even professional teams, if you wanted to sort of look out long term?
So it's that, you're right, it's that continuum. Like I said, if you look at 2014, Maryland moving, this is just a consolidation into probably 3 major college conferences that make up most of the United States. That's probably 60-some schools that would make up those major conferences. And then where they go from there, it's probably more about just consolidating. If you look at it, the SEC has ESPN contract and the Big Ten has a Fox contract. And so that's really what it's come down to, is the media networks are desperate for live sports. College athletics is great for them on Saturday afternoons, Saturday nights, or Thursday nights. And this is going to continue until those schools have consolidated into that really power 50 or 60 in 3 conferences. And then we'll see. But we're concerned about what happens to the rest. What happens about universities that can't compete at that level financially? What happens to their athletic departments? Do they have to lower sports, drop sports? What happens to women's sports? We don't know yet, remains to be seen. But I think you'll continue to see a consolidation around the big money sports.
All right, Marty Conway, Georgetown professor, breaking down what's happening in the Pac-12 and beyond. I think the ripple effect is what's really most interesting here.
I'm going to start a league for those smaller schools, the Joe Clair League.
You heard it here.
Oh, we're gonna get them on here. They'll be right here on the DMV Zone.
Thank you, Professor Conway.